So I want to briefly talk about Grapho-Therapy, and Grapho-Therapy really is about brain chemistry. I think that in the last 15 years, there's been more brain research done than the previous 5,000 years. And now with the mental imaging scans, MRIs, there's certain brain imaging scans, they can look inside your brain and they know what part of the brain is lighting up when you think about sex. They know which part of the brain is lighting up when you speak a different language. And if you look at, there's a great article inside the, in National Geographic. It's also inside the Orange course, the one that's audio only. It's a good, the full article. And it's about basically when they opened up somebody's skull, they cut a chunk out of their skull, and they pushed pins in different parts of their brain, and it made somebody that was completely fluent in English and Spanish forget Spanish, just by stimulating parts of their brain. So it does hold different areas, and even in the early 1900s, the psychiatrist, also known as criminals in the early 1900s, would basically drill holes in people's heads to try and rehabilitate their criminal behavior. Well, they basically made them into invalids, and many of the techniques they still use, like electroshock therapy, make you into invalids. Yep, your criminal behavior disappears, but so does your spirit. But they were correct in one aspect. Different parts of your brain do hold clues to some of your personality. Okay? Phrenology has been discredited, which is the bumps on your head, but the parts of your brain do matter. So different parts of your fingers and different parts of your handwriting stimulate in different parts. So if you're writing figure eights, that has a certain synaptic pathway that the letter T or F may not have. I'm going to skip this. You know what personality reveals. Grapho-Therapy is a specific process designed to reprogram the personality through repetitive small micro movements of the fingers. Now, it's not just a process, it's a therapeutic process. So by therapeutic, we mean it is a process designed to create change. Therapy usually means that there's an illness and a healing effect. I think you could be in therapy even if you're not sick. But let's assume that you're healing a moderate self-esteem and making a great self-image. Either way, you are actually making changes to the physiology. Now, your brain is electrical in nature. Your brain is part of your body. Maybe your mind and your spirit aren't part of your body, but they interrelate. So this is a really good way to get your body moving toward. I thought of an interesting concept recently is I've been a fan of meditation, I've been a fan of Buddhism, I've been a fan of yoga, I've been a fan of martial arts, I'm a blue belt in Shaolin Kung Fu. And so I've studied all over the world and learned all these great techniques to have a path to enlightenment. And many people, especially in the Eastern world, believe that if you meditate long enough, you will just, boom, become enlightened at some point. And essentially, when I was studying with Deepak Chopra, one of the principles was, if you can think about nothing long enough, enlightenment will come to you. And while that's true, it seems to be an inconsistent path to enlightenment. Some people spend 40, 50 years sitting around meditating, and their life is still in shambles. Do you know some of these people? Okay. And there's some people that meditate 3 or 4 years, like, wow, my heart rate went down, my weight came off, I feel like I have more clarity. So there's no criticism. But what an interesting thing is, if you could add this amazing human body, which is just, it's so amazing in every way. The people that don't believe in evolution, they say, well, there's no way God didn't make your body because it's just too amazing. And you know, that's a hard argument to argue with. We're totally amazing at measuring your temperature and your heart rate and your brain and your eyeballs, your eye sockets and your synaptic pathways. All that is true. But if you're attempting to have some spiritual enlightenment and this amazing body you're trying to not utilize for enlightenment, it sounds a little myopic. Why don't you use your body? One of the things your body does so well, it creates patterns and habits outside your awareness. Some of those habits, like our friend Jennifer who yells at her husband, are not useful. But the same mechanism can help you program good habits. Just like if you got great candles when you are on a great date, if you light those candles, you will remember the great date. Just like certain music, if you remember great music, when you play great music, you're in a good mood. Your body is already triggered and programmed to elicit memories and emotions based on stimulation from the rest of the world. Your body's doing anyway. You might as well intentionally and consciously use your body's ability to stimulate and re-stimulate in a way that makes you happy. Do you follow? Okay? One of the ways you can do that, of course, is your handwriting. Naturally, handwriting is a reflection of who you are. We can program it back into the body. So let's see how we do that. There is a neurological way. When I first heard the concept when I was 14 years old, which was 3 years ago, hold for laughter. 17 is not even believable. 29, they're like, 29, right. Okay. Well, back in the 80s, there wasn't fancy MRIs. There might have been MRIs, but there wasn't level of brain scans, and there wasn't level of advanced neural research that would suggest that your handwriting actually would have a specific neural pathway. Since the invention of such incredible movies like The Secret, there's a great movie called What the Bleep Do We Know, and there's tons of books on quantum physics as well as chaos theory, which say definitively that a human being's thoughts can affect atoms in space. The researchers' thoughts about a small, ultimate microatom, just the fact the research is observing it can change the dynamic of the experiment. That is profound, so it's gone out of the field of simple spirituality, it's gone out of the field of simple self-help guy into the field of quantum physics. And when thoughts become quantum physics, a lot of smart people begin to believe, wow, maybe our thoughts have mass. In at least 20 years, they know for a fact that prayer, especially group prayer, can have a profound effect on somebody's health. You guys realize that? That is not just religious fodder. That is statistical research that group prayer can have an effect on somebody's health. What that tells me is that thoughts are powerful, and thoughts are not just ideas, they're energy, and it moves. Just like the chair sitting on is moving with energy. Well, not only are thoughts energy outside the mind, thoughts are energy inside the mind. They're neural pathways inside the brain. They're firing. They're electricity. And repeated hand movements are a result of habitual neural pathways. We know this now. There's a book, and it's very popular in America, and I'm sorry I can't think of the name right now because I would like to publicly criticize this doctor, but it escapes me. His research is profound in many ways. He's a psychiatrist, but he has taken patients and scanned their brain on so many things. It in itself is very useful research that we're glad to have. Okay? His research, it's called a brain scan. I think you could probably Google his name, brain scan. But his research, he's even taken guys that were ethically, the patient showed up that was high on crack cocaine. But he's brain scanned crack cocaine users while using it. He's brain scanned cocaine users over years. And he says, my God, drugs do damage to your brain. Now this is useful information. So different diseases have different brain areas. Depression, part of the frontal lobe, doesn't have as much pathway usage. Now, why do I criticize him? Because his perception is this. The tail is wagging the dog. What does that mean? Oh my God, the front lobe isn't firing enough. You must have a frontal lobe problem. Let's give you medication. Let's make the psychiatrist richer. Let's make the drug companies richer because your frontal lobe's not working. Poor boy. We better give you drugs.